What's going on, guys? It's your man Ed Hayes here, back for another video. And in this one, guys, y'all read the title of the video, man. In this one, I'm going to be showing y'all how to almost certainly guarantee your assignment spread when you're out here doing wholesale real estate deals. You know, a lot of people out here don't really realize that there's ways that you can kind of protect the deal, whether it be the seller getting upset that you're making so much money, or your buyer seeing what your assignment spread is and then trying to negotiate with you. In this video, I've got a solution for you guys. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right on into it. All right. So for all of you newer wholesalers out there, when it comes to these assignment deals, in those scenarios, unless your title company or attorney is going to do what's called a blind HUD, which means unless they're going to do one of those, which is essentially hiding how much money you're going to make to the seller. Typically, like, the buyer may still see it unless they're going to do like a double blind HUD or whatever. Like, the buyer will still see how much money you're going to make. But if you want to avoid the seller seeing how much money you're going to make, you typically have to do a blind HUD. But in an assignment, traditionally, the seller is going to see how much money you're going to make. The buyer's going to see, everyone's going to know how much money you're going to be making on this deal. Now, don't get me wrong. As long as you're transparent on a lot of these deals, like, no one's really going to care, right? Depending on how much money you're making though, right? So, but, in a lot of scenarios, you don't have to, kind of do anything extra, and it's perfectly fine that you're going to be getting an assignment spread. I'm not saying it like, this is something that you can't do, right? However, there are scenarios where you're going to be making so much money that the seller may be looking at you kind of sideways, like, damn, John, like, I thought that you was looking out for me, and just to come to find out you're making, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 off my property. And they may feel some type of way, and they don't necessarily have to close on that property. You can tell them, like, hey, look, I'm going to push line 11. I'm going to sue you, da, 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 da. But are you really going to do that? And then, like, second off, like, do you really want to spend that time, that energy, that effort? Or do you want to just protect yourself in the first place and not have to worry about them knowing how much money you're going to make? I tend to come across these situations more so on the seller side than the buyer side. But at the same time, I have had plenty buyers that literally try to negotiate us and talk us down literally on the day of closing, trying to get a discount because they know how much we have the property under contract for when you're doing an assignment. It happens all the time. So guys, the way that we've allowed ourselves to avoid that problem is simply doing a double closing. All right. So in a double closing scenario, it does cost money, right? It's typically 1% of the purchase price of your A to B contract. But when you do a double closing, essentially the seller and the buyer will not see how much money you're going to be making on this deal. That's going to protect you from situations where the buyer may be trying to, go around and get a bit of a discount, or the seller's trying to talk you up. They're trying to, like, pay less money in the assignment fee or whatever because they see how much money you're making, et cetera, et cetera. These things happen all the time once the seller sees how much money you're going to make. Trust me, right? So if you're going to be doing big boy deals, I think it's pretty subjective, right? Like, in terms of, like, what makes sense, when does it make sense to double close versus when it doesn't? I think you have to be kind of discerning. You kind of got to make a judgment call yourself, right? But let's say, like, you've been kind of beating around the bush with this seller and not fully being transparent, openly honest about exactly what your role is in the process, and that you're going to be making money off this deal. That may be a scenario where you want to go ahead and do a double closing, especially if you're going to be getting a big chunk of cash. So I would say it's kind of proportional to what you have the contract for, I would say, right? So let's say, for instance, if I was going to be making like more than 10% of the purchase price of this property, I may consider double closing. It depends. So if I'm working on a $150,000 property, that's what I got it under contract for, and I'm selling it for, let's say, 165, I may want to double close on that. In that scenario, it will cost me 1% of the purchase price to actually get the funding for that deal. And I'm going to show you all a company that I use to do all of my double closes, the only company I work with in America. So basically that 1% of that 150,000, that's going to be $1,500. So yeah, instead of 15,000, I made 13,500. However, I didn't have to risk my entire $15,000 spread or get talked down 10,000, 5,000. It's usually big numbers that these people want in terms of discounts or trying to get you up in terms of how much you're paying for the property, right? Whether it's the buyer or the seller. So many deals go down the drain because People don't realize that you could actually go out there and just double close on the property. Or maybe you do realize that you could, but it's obscure and you've never done it before. There's so many different deals that I come across, like when we do JV deals with other wholesalers, that probably wouldn't have made it to the table if everyone knew how much money we were going to be making. And then we're busting it down, like we're splitting it and stuff like that or whatever on the HUD as well. It's like a lot of moving pieces, right, in terms of where this money is going. And that can look strange and feel weird to people that's been in the trenches with you, whether it's a buyer or a seller. They're like, damn, you about to make all of this? Like, damn, what about me? That's how it always is, like all the time. People negotiate and people have feelings. They're humans at the end of the day, right? And you want to feel like you're getting a deal. The seller and the buyer wants to feel like that. So like I said, I would much rather take the 13,500 and know for sure that my assignment spread is secure versus, trying to get the whole 15,000 and the seller feeling sour about it, or, they got this bittersweet taste in their mouth or whatever, because you're going to make that money or whatever. And the relationships are everything. I would hate to ruin a solid relationship with a seller or a buyer because, I'm standing 10 toes down. I'm trying to get every single dollar that I deserve on these properties, right? Sometimes that can cause friction in relationships with buyers or sellers, and you'll see the things start to go left, unfortunately, and whatnot. So for me to preserve that relationship, if I'm making 50,000 or something like that, I'm going to do a double close 9 times out of 10, unless it's like a $500,000 property, or let's say like the ARV on this thing is like, 5, 6, 700,000 or more, then okay, I may not have to double close on that property. I may just do a traditional assignment. If it's a multi-million-dollar property, I'm absolutely not double closing on like a, $50,000 spread or something like that. Like, hey, they're just going to have to be okay with me making my money. When it comes to buyers, I typically don't like working with buyers that are checking my pockets anyway. So like I said, the other alternative option would be to do a blind HUD. You can ask your title companies or attorneys, like, would it be possible to do a blind HUD on the seller side? Boom, because the buyer is actually paying the assignment fee. So typically it's not going to be able, if you're going to assign it, it's not going to be possible for you to do a blind HUD on the buyer's end. It may be, depending on the title company that you're working with, right? But assume that you'll be able to do it on the seller side. And a lot of times that can actually save you from, the seller seeing how much money you're going to be making, but it also keeps out those double closing fees. So you don't have to pay that 1%. You can hold on to that extra $1,500 if they're willing to do a blind HUD. So like I said, typically like with the buyers, I don't want to work with buyers that's checking my pockets or whatever. The buyers, they already know that you're going to be making some money and they're typically okay with it, a lot more than sellers. But if you want to protect yourself regardless, do the double close. If you want to protect yourself from the seller, go ahead and try to see if your title company will do a blind HUD. All right, so right here is doubleclose.com, guys. Doubleclose.com is the only transactional lender in America that I use personally, that me and my team that we use. They work in all 50 states. I think like including like Alaska and Hawaii and stuff like that. In California, there's only one title company that they can work with, is New Venture Escrow. So kind of keep that in mind. But they do all types of deals, and like they'll even go over $1 million. So it's 1% for everything up to $1 million. And then after it goes over $1 million, then they charge 2%. So keep that in mind or whatever. Like try to keep it like $1 below the $1 million mark or whatever. If y'all do head over to doubleclose.com, let them know that Ed Hayes sent y'all, man. I don't get any money from it or anything like that or whatever, but I rock with them super, super heavy. Tell Kelsey I said hello when y'all holler at her or whoever else you talk to. I usually end up working with Kelsey over there. They're amazing. They've never let us down on any single deal that we've had all throughout the nation. They move extremely fast. Like literally, I'm pretty sure that they can make it happen for you within about 24 to 48 hours if you needed some quick funds on a deal. So definitely check out doubleclose.com. You're simply just going to go up to the top of the page, click the Get Funded Here button. You're going to put in all of your information. And basically, you have to have the A to B purchase price, the B to C purchase price, and then you're going to need both of those documents as well. You're going to need your closing, the closing company's like contact information and stuff like that. You're going to upload your files, your A to B and your B to C contract. That's going to be important. They need both for them to actually start working for you. And then you're just going to go ahead and click Get Funded. At that point, they're going to start working on your file. They're going to reach out to you if and when they need additional information from you. And they're also going to reach out to the entity taking title. They're going to reach out to the title company or attorney that's taking care of the transaction, and they're going to start to facilitate everything that needs to be done on their end. They're going to send over like their lending requirements, et cetera, so they can get the process started for you on that end. So it works really, really nicely. Like I said, they've never let us down on any of the deals that we've had over the past couple of years. I think I've been using them for slightly over a year or something like that or whatever, but they get the job done. Now, let me kind of paint a picture for you all that may not be familiar or comfortable with the double close I did, just because you can't really conceptualize it. I kind of want to paint a picture for you.
Push the button. Push the goddamn button. Push the goddamn button. You heard what she said.
So essentially what's going to happen is that you're going to get your A to B contract signed, and you're also going to get not an assignment agreement, but another purchase and sale agreement assigned. So it's going to be 2 purchase and sale agreements on this deal. You're going to go ahead and send both of those purchase and sale agreements over to your title company, and then you're going to open up title with those 2 contracts. At that point, you're going to go ahead and reach out to doubleclose.com or whatever transactional lender you decide to go with. I wouldn't pay more than 1% though, but either way, like go with whatever transactional lender. Give them the A to B and the B to C as well. And then they're going to go ahead and reach out to that title company or attorney that's handling the transaction. They're going to go ahead and fund your A to B transaction. And then the B2C buyer is going to go ahead and fund that B2C transaction, and both of those transactions are going to consummate on the same day, no more than 24 hours. All right. So both of these transactions are going to happen on the same day, and you're going to get your fee on the back end. Double Close is going to charge you $1,500 or $1,500 in that scenario that I gave you. But they're going to charge you 1% of the purchase price that you have it under contract for. And then you're also going to have to pay title fees and closing fees or whatever that may be for your for the transaction. Like you're actually going to be the buyer on this A to B transaction. So then that looks really, really good for your seller as well. So it's not like somebody else's name is on all of these agreements that they're signing and stuff. Like they may have all of these questions like, wait, I thought you were buying the property. Who is this company? Who is that person? You start having to answer all of these questions. I thought you told me you weren't a wholesaler, this and this and that. Or like a lot of people I know, like depending on whose channel you've been watching online or whatever, they tell you to do a lot of different things. We kind of lean into just being transparent and being open and being honest with people. But I know that if you're watching this, you may be telling people different things and stuff like that or whatever. So if you want to kind of just shore that up, the double close is going to come really, really in handy, like I said. So you'll be on that A to B contract. So it just looks good for your seller. They'll be like, okay, this kind of just matches what I thought that it was going to be. And then for your back end buyer, you don't have to worry about them seeing how much money you're going to make. All they see is the price that you're selling it for. They're not seeing the price that you had it under contract with for like with the seller. So like you could be making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on this deal, and the buyer could have been trying to talk you down the whole time or something. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of interesting situations and conversations that you end up in with these buyers, and they can feel some type of way as well. So having that double close is going to shore you up on the B2C side as well. So they just see how much they're paying. They're perfectly fine paying the amount that they agreed to pay, but they don't have to have that sour feeling like they could have got it for cheaper. So this is why I really, really love double closings, guys. I just wanted to kind of paint that picture for you of like what it actually looks like. Both of these deals will consummate on the same day. You just need to get an A to B and a B to C contract signed. That just means 2 purchase and sale agreements, no assignment agreements if you're going to be trying to double close. Just always just start with 2 purchase and sale agreements if you're going to be making a lot of money on this deal. That's what I recommend. A lot of money is going to be subjective. It's a judgment call for you. You'll know when you have to actually use it. And like I said, it's 1% for the closing company or for doubleclose.com or whatever transactional lender you go with. That's typically what you're going to be paying, plus your title fees and closing costs. So you're going to want to account for that as well. That's going to vary on a case-by-case basis, like how much the title fees and closing costs are. You can ask the title company like how much that would be prior to you actually closing. They can at least give you some type of estimate usually. So anyway, though, guys, I hope that this video helps, man. I hope that it helps you earn a lot more money and secure a lot more of that bag. I know a lot of people, they may have heard of double closing and thought about it, et cetera, and they've probably let so much money go down the drain from sellers backing out at the closing table, buyers talking them down, sellers talking them up. It happens, and your spread just ends up dwindling. Just pay that 1%, y'all. Save yourself on a lot of these deals. You don't have to get finessed and stuff like that, or see your $15,000 spread end up at $5,000, $8,000, et cetera, just because you're showing how much money you're going to make. I'd rather pay that small fee. But what do you guys think, though, man? Drop me a comment down below and let me know, what has your experience been with double closings? Have you ever done a double closing? Are you going to start using double closings now that you've checked out this video? Let me know in the comment box down below. And also, guys, if y'all found value in this, man, do me a big favor. The only thing that I ask is that y'all hit the like button for me. And if you really found it helpful, then share it with somebody else that you believe this video would help as well. I would really appreciate that. And if you want to see more videos like this where I'm breaking down the game, kind of giving y'all a step-by-step of like, these are the things that you want to be thinking about. Look, guys, I created a whole free wholesaling course right here on YouTube that you can check out right here. Go ahead and click on that. And until next time, guys, we are HUDs.